Okay, so where should we start? I think a good place to start is with the sit. Now, don't laugh. I know your dog already knows how to sit, but we want to make this sit so incredibly powerful because it forms a through line actually for all of our gun dog training, and for those that have pet dogs that are looking for an alternative behavior in the face of game. A sit is a good thing to have. Just think of it as an emergency stop. One of the funnest games, and how I want us to start, is with a game I call Fast Fired Sits. Now, this game came out of the detection world, which of course I know a little bit about, and it's a nice way to bring movement into the sit and energy into the sit right away, because that's what we're going to be doing when we're out in the field. So for a lot of people, they teach sit in a very static, calm environment. That's fine. But we want our sit to be full of energy. We want the dog to, again, cap that movement, stop that movement into the static behavior of a sit. And that's what this game does. So what you're going to want to do is get some food, some high-value food, and the dog should know how to do a hand follow first. If they don't, you're going to have to teach them to follow the hand. The nose should be right on that hand. And then we're going to add twists and turns, spins, and then you're going to stop. And that hand's going to stop, and you'll see your dog, they'll just go, wow, and they'll just stop and they'll sit. We could eventually add our sit whistle cue to this. It's a super game. Puppies can play it. Dogs that already know how to sit can play it. It's just a lot of fun, and again, it's going to bring that energy and response that we want to see with a sit. Now, here's an important thing when we're thinking about our sit stop whistle, or even if we're using a verbal cue, is we always want that cue followed by reinforcement, always followed by a positive. A lot of times out in the field in particular, it's like you blow the whistle, the dog should stop, and it's not necessarily followed by a positive, but we really want it to be followed by a positive. Again, we want the dog to hear the whistle and go, wow, something great is going to happen, okay? We want that whistle cue to be that conditional behavioral response that predicts reinforcement. Now, there's a whole lot of ways to teach the sit whistle. I like to back chain it, okay? So we're going to build in right from the beginning distance, the cue picture for the dog, because one of the biggest struggles that people have using a sit whistle is they hit the sit whistle and the dog comes forward, because we usually have reinforcement. So we're going to build distance right into the cue picture from the very beginning. And here, I'll show you how it's done. For this game, you're going to need your dog, obviously, an appropriate environment. Remember, we want to set our dogs up for success, and an appropriate reinforcer. So think outside the box. It can be a toy, it can be food in a bowl, in a clam, it could be a treat and train. It's got to be something that your dog values. Now we're going to sit the dog about 2 to 3 feet in front of the reinforcer. The reinforcer's behind them. This can be tricky for some dogs. If you need to use a place board, use a place board. You're going to walk away calmly until you're about 10 to 15 feet from your dog. The dog is looking at you and exhibiting control. You're going to blow the sit whistle, or verbally cue sit, and then release to reinforcement. You can release with a verbal release, or if you have a hunt whistle, you can use that as well. Now, your dog is already in a sit, but remember, I want you to blow the sit whistle before you release them, because that, again, is the picture they're going to see. That sit whistle, it's more than just the cue to sit, it's the predictor of reinforcement. It's a really good sound for your dog. Always sit the dog up in the same place as you're playing this game, and increase your distance slowly. And by default, because you're increasing your distance, you're also building duration. Remember I said we were back chaining, so let's add the next step. Again, Pick your environment carefully. Get that reinforcer, that really good one out, and warm up with a little bit of the kind of sit reframe game, if you will. We're going to place that appropriate reinforcer down, or add a little fun to it and have your dog put it down, toy or a ball if it's something like that. Walk away calmly with your dog, 10 to 15 feet again. Again, this is a super good time to practice some focused healing. Turn around, line your dog up towards the reinforcer, and send your dog using their release cue. Blow your sit whistle or verbally cue your sit, just as they are approaching where you normally would have had them sitting when playing the previous game. Now, a place board here can come in really, really handy. The dog sits, stops, ideally turns and looks at you. Now, if the reinforcement has great value, it's going to be hard and they might get sticky. So you might need to lower the reinforcer so you get a turn. Again, you're shaping that response. You're using the environment and your reinforcers wisely. Immediately release to your reinforcer. Don't ask for too much duration yet. And tip, don't always stop your dog or they're going to get sticky, lose desire, and that's how you get the dreaded popping. Now we can use a very similar cue picture and the same back chaining method to start our casting games. The dog's going to be facing you. Placeboard is optional. And remember to always build desire. So set your dog up, blow your sit whistle, even though your dog's already sitting, and then send to the reinforcer. Now, a typical verbal cue in the United States is over, and a typical hand signal is straight out from your side. You can also raise your arm, which re-cues the sit if your dog understands a raised arm, and then lower your arm perpendicular to your body. It's really up to you. Again, just like with our send game, our send and stop, we don't always want to stop. We want to keep desire high. Err on the side of desire. Build the distance that you're standing from your dog slowly, and remember to practice in both directions. Again, we're going to be setting our dog up for success using an appropriate reinforcer for the environment that you're working in. That reinforcer should be desired, but to rehearse good choices, sometimes lowering the value is a good option when just starting. And you can even use a treat and train or a food bowl for this game. So the next layer of this game, it's an advanced version, but it's a massive, massive trust builder. We're going to set our dogs up just like we have been doing. Our dog is facing us, we are facing our dog, and we're going to put a reinforcer out to the left and one out to the right. Now in this version of the game, we're going to send our dog out to one of those reinforcers. We're going to stop them. Then we're going to send them back to the other one, and we're going to stop them. And then we're going to send them back to that original one. Now this is hard, but it is a huge trust builder. Because if your dog listens to you, they are going to get what they want. But they're going to get what they want because they're listening to you. Build this game up slowly. Have fun with it. And don't always stop. Remember, you can mix it up. You can stop them once. You can stop them twice, 3 times, or never, right? So you can just keep them guessing so that you don't just build a pattern, but keep them guessing and have a lot of fun with it. Now, a slightly different version of this game is to use place boards and to have place boards out to the left and out to the right. Now, this does require your dog to love a place board and really have a lot of desire to get on a place board. That's like step number 1. So if you don't have that, that's where you need to start. But once you get there, you can actually put the reinforcer in between the 2 place boards, and have a little fun with it. And again, it's all about building trust. It's not about deny. It's not about correction. It's about the relationship that's being built, that if you listen to me, you're going to get what you want, but you're going to listen to me first, and we're going to have fun together doing it. So these games, that's trust and outcomes, right? Have fun with it. This next series of games are what I call my hunting games. Now, some of you might be going, whoa, I don't really want to go hunting with my dogs. That's not why I'm listening to the presentation. But here's the thing. Every time you take your dog for a walk, they at some point go into seeking mode, searching mode, hunting mode, whatever you want to call it. But they're interacting with the environment and probably not with you. So I think it's always better that you hunt together. And for a lot of our dogs, particularly our gun dog breeds, but also our terriers and some of our other breeds, they're hardwired to hunt. So I would rather have my hardwired hunting dog hunting with me than going self-employed and hunting with the environment. So I've picked out a few games for us to take a look at. First, we're going to take a look at hunting together, but I have a series of other games, some with some fun names like oranges and lemons, and we're going to take a look at those as well too. So let's get going. In this video, we're going to be hunting together. Now it's really important to start easy. She's watching me drop the hides, the tennis balls. Make sure you've got something that your dog really, really loves. When you're doing this, you want to make it easy, you want to keep your dog confident, and I want her finding things relatively close to me. I don't want her running way down the field. Remember, we're hunting together. It's super easy to start with. Now in this one, I'm going to strategically drop hides. When I mean strategically, they're going to be tossed while she's hunting, so she can't see me toss. This is really hard to do. You have to be clever and fast, especially if you have one of these fast dogs. You don't want them seeing you drop the hide. But I'm dropping them near me and around me, so she learns to hunt near me and around me, not 100 yards down the field out of gun range, right? So I want her hunting with me. You can see she looks at me occasionally. That's a remnant from something that I was doing earlier that I'm working to correct. And I want her hunting independently. She's watching me. As I pull one way, she pulls another way. So our dogs are always watching us, but we want to make sure, depending on our application, that they find the things in and around us. Now on this little game, I'm going to cover her eyes. I call it a peekaboo game. She likes to play the game. Only play this if your dog is going to enjoy it. And I fake out a throw, and there's one for her to find right near me. Now in this little game, I'm going to hide while she's retrieving, while she's occupied and employed and doing something else. And then we're going to go directly into hunting, which is, for those of us that do hunt tests or have dreams of field trialing, basically this is what you would do. You would have a retrieve and go right into hunting. And again, I want her to find the thing relatively close to me. And I like it when she's really hunting the ground, covering the ground, and not just running back and forth, but really hunting. This was a treat pouch. She thought of opening it. It's a rabbit-covered treat pouch. This one I'm going to do a hide. There it goes, during ascend. Now I'm not worried that in the U.S. that they like the dogs to range a little further, but I'm not worried about that because, oops, a little screeching, because when you get out there in the field, oh boy, they're probably arousal's going to be high and they're going to go long. So I want to keep her as close as possible while I can. These are a series of pre-placed hides. She did watch me place them. So you have to watch and know if your dog works from memory, if they're really good at remembering when something was being tossed. But I put about 6 hides out in kind of a strategic pattern. So that she would find one when we're casting off to the left, and she'd find one maybe when we're casting off to the right. And you can see I'm moving through the field and she's following me. She's not just running a pattern. On to flip and roll games. Actually, just another term for introduction to movement games. Now this can be simple for your dog, or this could be really hard. For Millie, it's been really hard. We started here, essentially boundary games. Could she stay on her boundary while a ball rolled by? And I gotta tell you, this was really, really hard for her. And I'm just rolling a ball by. That's all I'm doing. I'm taking advantage of our morning breakfast time, which is a time when she's in a fairly high state of excitement and arousal. So I wanted to take advantage of that time of day. And now the ball's out of sight. Oh my goodness. And she's still able to do it. And Tolly's right there, so he's a little distraction. But this was not easy. I'm not going to fool you. For her, this was not easy. And again, I'm not watching. The ball's there rolling by, and she's able to stay on her boundary. It's one of my students playing with a very movement-stimulated border collie, and they're rocking it. This is hard for this dog, and look at that. Beautiful work. So these are what I call my driveway games. This is just kibble and it rolls. So it adds a little more complexity to the game. You can definitely play this on the flat, and I'll show you that in a moment. And I get her moving sometimes. This is just from a stationary sit. And look at the focus on that food. And she's going to give me just a little bit of eye contact, and I release her to it. Again, this is really hard for her to play. I play him in the afternoon. It's a fun. Tolly's down there scatter feeding. He's having fun. But I get the tennis ball out. She's resisting jumping. Nice. Again, it's rolling away, and she's able to hold a sit. This is huge. This is really hard. So if you can get these little movement games in, be creative, play them any way you want. See if your dog can hold their sit position. Now we're playing inside, so things aren't rolling as much. A lot easier for her, but still, it took us a long time to get here. So take your time with these. Be a turtle. And she gives me a little eye contact down at the corner of her eye. Clever little girl. I just left all the play in. Again, she likes to spin, so I'm using that to my advantage, and now I get a nice head turn. Oh, I was excited about that. Now I'm going to get a tug out. So if you have a dog that loves to tug, and she does love to tug, as she's tugging, throwing the item up in the air like this becomes another cue for your sit. So when you're first starting, when you're throwing that item up, whatever it is, cue your verbal sit if they're moving, okay? Don't forget to do that. And I'm going to cue Twizzle, which is for her to turn. Item goes up, she sits, she gets the toy. Now I'm playing with food again. Now watch how hard this is. I actually had to cue sit there, and watch how long she stares at it and how sticky she is. And then she finally, ever so slightly, the head's going to come up. There it is, and she wins, and we play some more. So have fun, guys. Go at your dog's pace. On to oranges and lemons, or marking games. This is all about forward focus and response inhibition. So we're going to need an appropriate reinforcer to set your dog up for success. You might need to start with one piece of kibble. Trust me on that. Now, are you going to have this reinforcer mimic a rabbit or a bird or both? I recommend both. Positions of difficulty. The first position, if you're ahead of your dog, is the easiest, because you being ahead of your dog is usually enough presence, your body pressure, to keep the dog sitting calmly. Next, handler by the side of the dog. For those that do retriever hunt tests, retriever trials, this is where you're going to be. The third position, handler, is behind the dog for those of us with the flushing breeds or the pointing breeds or the upland retrievers, right, where the dog is working ahead of us, hunting. This is where we're going to be, behind the dog. So as you start to play the game, any of the positions, ask your dog to sit or use a very quiet sit whistle. Roll or toss your desired reinforcer. And you can think about starting this game with a food bowl as your reinforcer, because food bowls have sort of magic powers and it's tricky. The dog should remain in position. Placeboard can be very, very helpful here. And then your dog is verbally released when focus is forward. You can have other criteria though. Some of you, particularly companion owners, may want to release on eye contact and may not want to have the focus forward. So play with what you and your dog need. And again, this is a really fun game. Go at your own pace. Go at your dog's pace.
Nice. Okay, now.
Good girl. Good girl. One more. These next 3 games, sit to static prey, sit to the mock flush, and sit to the surprise flush, really grow our dog's understanding and ability to control their impulses. In this fun game, we're going to have our dogs sit to the squirrel. We're going to get them moving, get them searching. And when they find the thing, we're going to have them sit. Use your verbal sit when starting. You can use your sit whistle. If they don't have a retrieve, just toss in a higher valued reinforcer or get in there and open the food jar, right? So arousal's a little high with Millie. She had a little squeak, but she's hunting hard. She's searching. And when she finds her thing, she gives me the nice sit. She actually downs there. Wow. How fun was that? Again, a little squeak. She's hunting hard. She's searching hard. First sign of disengagement, though, is that sitting to our squirrel. And beautiful, she gets a retrieve. This is the mock flush game, and it mimics the prey getting away. We're going to start easy. We're going to use something your dog truly desires. Food, a canvas dummy, a tennis ball, a lotus ball, a slipper. It doesn't really matter. And this game can be played inside or outside. So we're going to ask your dog to sit and use your verbal cue. You can use your sit whistle. If your dog is already sitting to static prey, like in the video demonstration here, you can play this way as well. When they find the prey or have your reinforcer right next to your dog's head while you've put them in the sit, you're going to toss forward and up that reinforcer. That's like the last thing your dog's going to see when they flush game, flush the bird, is the bird going up. The dog should remain in a sit. Now you can release, if your dog remains sitting, you can release your dog to the prey, or if you have a dog that's anticipating this pattern, anticipating a lot, you can go pick it up. I actually go pick up a lot of my retrieves so my dog doesn't anticipate getting them. If it's too hard, move the desired item a little further away from your dog's head or lower the value of the reinforcer or toss in a less exciting way. And a place board here when you're first starting might be a wise decision. Game changer, the surprise squirrel. Millie's out hunting and she's going to get surprised by a flush. Now you only get to maybe do this once or twice until they cotton on to it. So you have to do it really, you have to really surprise them with the thing. Now there is a cool device that you can get called the bolting rabbit. I don't have it yet, and that's for movement on the ground, but this is great for those dogs that are going to be flushing or that are really into birds, anything that's moving. Again, it's that concept of movement, but it's a surprise. And you can play this while you're on your walk. All of a sudden you surprise your dog with something flying past them. When I first started, it was with a tennis ball, and boy, was it hard. Here she's working with some rabbit dummies. I got 2 surprises in that one. I'm going to go off again. Now I have something planted for her to find, which helps balance things out because I don't want to lose the hunting. If you play too much, they're going to start watching you if you're not careful, and you're going to lose the hunting aspect. And here we are out at our regular training grounds, and boom, right by her head. She wasn't expecting it, and I got a beautiful sit. Now this last one's hard because this we're at the other training ground on the other side of the road, and this is live game. and there is a shot involved. And she was expecting it a little bit. You can see that, but that's okay. That was hard. Can she get her butt down? She can, and I released her right away. So super fun game. Have fun.
Good girl. Very good. Thank you. Very good.